Welcome to my No Dog Licks channel. Yesterday, when I was telling my story, I thought I had recorded uh, the opening uh, thing I was talking about, but when I went back and looked, apparently it did not record. So I'm going to tell that part first, and then I'll go on and tell some of the other things that I wanted to talk about. Uh, Out on the farm when I was knee high to a grasshopper, uh, whenever my dad would go out and mow the fields, we had a Case tractor, and the Case tractor had a sickle bar. A sickle bar is just a long bar that would go along the hay and cut it down. Um, it's very similar to the way that your hedge clipper would look today, but much, much longer. Maybe that thing might have been 10 feet long or something like that. Uh, the thing with the sickle bar is as it's cutting down, it would clump up. The grass sometimes wouldn't fall correctly, and it would just bunch up, and you would have to go and pull the bunches out of this sickle bar. Well, my job was to sit on the axle housing of the tractor. And my dad was driving. I was on his left, sitting on down on the uh, the axle housing that stuck out. And this particular tractor was an older tractor. It must have came from whenever they really didn't have a lot of regulations as far as safety or something like that. There was no guard between me and the wheel. As a matter of fact, I played with the wheel, putting my hand on the nubs and then go blah, 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 as he moved down through the field. Well, my job was whenever to kind of keep an eye on the sickle bar. When I seen clumps, then I had to jump off of the wheel well forward, run around the tire, run around the back of the sickle bar, and pull out the grass clumps. Uh, Once I got done with that, then I would have to come back and climb back up while he was still mowing. Uh, right there was the PTO spinning at a high rate of speed. I would climb up beside that, climb up around the side of the chair, and sit back down on the wheel well. That was my job. So, these stories are about, having a gardening, having somebody watch you, whether it be a gardening angel or something like that. I don't know. But the fact that I'm still here has to prove something, I would think. When, when we could go down through the fields, there were times that the quail and stuff would lay their eggs in the field, and we'd come down there, and a few of them actually got caught up in sickle bar. Uh, Dad would grab that up, and we would run back to the house, and Mom would cook it up for dinner. Nothing on the farm went to waste. All right. Uh, Another aspect, uh, I believe in the last video I was telling you about the open wires going to the basement of the house where we had a coal furnace and everything. But down in the barn, the the farm had electric fence. It was just one wire that was tied back to the milk house. And in the milk house, we had this huge light bulb. And most of the time, it might be on very dimly, but other times you couldn't tell it was on at all. And what one leg of the power was grounded. The other leg coming in was the hot leg, went through the light bulb, and went directly to the fence. Now, whenever it would start to glow, we would know it's time to walk the fence because apparently a bush or something had grown up around it. Uh, it if something was actually caught in it, it might glow brighter. But that wire was lethal, pretty much. Um, I don't remember there being anything other than that light bulb limiting the amount of current and the voltage on that wire. I do remember touching it, getting zapped, uh, but because it was the top wire, usually you went down below it when you had to climb through the fence and stuff like that. But that was one thing. Gee whiz. Climbing up in the barns, you know, we would fill the barn full of hay, and you have to climb out the side of the hay stack and throw the bales out and everything. And actually what we used to do is cut tunnels through pull out the bales and make little tunnels within the haystack. It was pretty interesting. You can play back there a lot of times, but you always had that thing. If you didn't do it right, it could collapse on you. I don't remember any situations where that actually had happened. Now, some of the other things that went on the farm that I just lucked out. When we moved off of the farm, we still went back to some of our neighbor farms, and can't remember the name of the people that owned the farm, but they had a pretty large dairy farm. And we would go there and get raw milk, and then my mother would pasteurize it, and that's what we drink. And from the raw milk, she would get her cream for her butter, and she just done all kind of things with this raw milk that we got directly from the dairy. Well, one of the things I liked was the sour, I think it's sorghum or something. It's stuff that they grow and they grind up and they throw into the silo, and it kind of ferments over time. And it's just, to me, it had a good taste. It was sour and everything. And so whenever we would go there, I would sneak up into the silo and, dig around, find some perfectly cut pieces that I could chew on. And I'd take a handful of them, stick them in my pocket, and come back. And, nobody knew where I went. The barn was pretty big. It had hundreds of cows and stuff. And so one day I went up into the silo and I'm rooting around like that. And all of a sudden I hear this like that. And about 10 feet above me was this big blower. and it was coming down. And I realized, man, this thing's getting ready to blow this silage out. What they would do is they would open up the doors on the, or they, all along the side of the silo, there'd be these hatches, and you would open it up as the silage gets used up, and it gets toward the bottom. You would open up another door. Uh, well, that's where everything would blow out. So I had opened up one a few feet underneath so I can get to the silage and get in there. And I'm in there, and this thing comes on, and it starts coming down like that. And I said, oh, crap. I have to get out of here. So I hurried up, climbed out of mine, and, hurried up and locked the hatch for the door of the section that I was in, and was trying to scurry down. And all of a sudden, that blower come on. And silage just blew down on top of me. When I come out of there, I was just covered with them. And, yeah, they asked me, what happened to you? And, I said, well, I was up in the silo and the silage started coming down. So I had to get out of the way really, really quick. Yeah. I could have easily been ate up in that fan. I would have been a goner. So somebody looked out for me that day. One of the things that I was really, really good at that other people struggle with was collecting eggs from the chickens. They would literally just peck you to death, and they would fight you. But I had this little technique. Whenever I would go up there, I just seen that the chickens could be side distracted, and so I would just go up to them like that, and I would go like this off to the side, and they'd be watching my hand, and then I would just reach up underneath them, pull the eggs out, put them in my basket, and I could take all the eggs out of all the hen boxes very, very simple, quickly, and nobody could understand why I was able to do that, but it was just my little gesture. One day I was up there, and as I came out of the chicken coop, there was a couple of yellow jacket bumblebees, and I made the mistake of swatting at one to get it away from me. That made those guys so mad, and they chased me down the field. Luckily I had some thick clothes on because of the time of the year it was, but I could feel them hitting me, and I believe if it was any other time when I didn't have clothes, I would have got stung up very, very badly. I would say I almost ran about a quarter mile to get them away from me. They just kept on attacking me, and around the head and everything. And but I did get away. That's another one. I told you about the tractor. Um, oh, one of the things was we did harvest cows and chickens every fall. We would have a chicken massacre. We'd grab a whole bunch of chickens, and we had a stump with 2 nails on there, and you put the thing on there, or their neck between the nails, and took the hatchet and chopped off their head. And then you had to hold the chickens while they flapped, until they died. Uh, Literally, that was my job, to hold the darn chicken till he stopped flapping. Because if you let go of them, they would run uh, headless. But they can run a long distance, and that would bruise the meat. So I had to hold on to them, and the blood was just covering me up and everything. But yeah, we would put away maybe 20 chickens, you know, during that time. Uh, After we took their heads off, oh gee whiz, chopped their heads off. You could grab a hold of the head and it'd be blinking and the beak be going up and down. I feel sorry for those little things, but I did enjoy eating them. Uh, oh, we done this with the cows too. We every so often butcher a cow, and then we would raise it up uh, on the hoist in the tractor shed, and we would skin it and get it all prepped up, cut up in the belly and take out the guts and uh, get the cow pretty much cleaned up. And then we would take the cow down to the butcher, and then they would cut everything up into the steaks and everything, but you didn't have to pay the slaughter fees and stuff like that to have your cow or take your cow there. Um, but one of the things, I would get this big cow stomach and I would tie off the openings and play with that. That was my beach ball. And just rolling it down the hill, and oh, the cats loved it. They would just be right there too, licking the darn thing. But I would play with that thing for hours. Uh, it's it's just amazing. Uh, some of the things you do on the farm just because there's it's there, might as well do it. One of the things I had is we had a little lamb, and the lamb was my pet, and so he would like to go and lay underneath the truck. And one day my dad got into the truck, didn't know the lamb was underneath it, ran the poor thing over. They didn't want to tell me about this, so they took the lamb up over the hill and put it in our little dump that we had up over the hill. And, you know, I knew what was going on. They didn't have to hide this stuff from me. I lived through the chicken massacre and the cow butchering and everything. We did it to hogs too. So, uh, for a little boy, that's, you know, it just became part of nature or course of life. Now, this one may be good for the Halloween. Uh, One of the things I would, I wasn't in school yet, and so I had free run of the farm, and I could be almost anywhere. The farm was kind of in a bowl, and the house was about halfway down one side of the bowl. And if you hollered at all, you can hear the echo off the other side of the bowl. So if they needed me, they would just holler for me, and I would be able to hear it, and I would work my way back to the house. This one time, I was way up in the field I guess you would call it the lower hayfield or the middle size hayfield. Um, we had the high hayfield, and then we had like a corn field, and then on this plateau we had another hayfield and another hayfield above it, and then it had a little trail that went down to a lower field. There was a hayfield there, another hayfield over here, and then where we grew the corn. And then the rest was pasture, and chicken coop would be up on the hill. Um, then you get to the fence line, and then you had the main barn. You had the tractor garage. There'd be another little pasture for the cows. Uh, when you needed to separate them from like the bull and stuff like that, you could put them in this one area. And then the rest was opened up, and the house was right there. The lane would be right along the edge of the property. And then on the very top of the bowl was another large hayfield. And I believe there was a hayfield down below it, right above the house. So, then farther down, it was just all wooded. And I would spend hours just playing in the woods, climbing up vines. Uh, you know, if anything happened to me, it'd be kind of hard to find me because I was in every nook and cranny in that on that farm. But one day, I was up in the hayfield. My mother hollered for me, and I took the shortcut through the woods. And as I was running through the woods, I didn't see the huge spider, and he ran right into it, and he was right across my face. One of these, oh heck, bright, he had white, black, and yellow on him. And he kept his legs in like a X. And that's the way he planted himself on, well, the way the spider web, because as I was running through there, I was just running through and just did not see him because the light wasn't hitting him good enough that I could. So, that took me a long time to get over having spiders. Just thinking about it, it gives me cold chills. So, well, I appreciate you stopping by my No Dog Licks channel. Bugs are starting to come out and they're starting to nibble on me, so I think I'm going to go back into the house. But please do subscribe, comment, like to hear how I can improve the station. What do you like? What you don't like? Do you like these stories? I like to keep on talking about them. There's a lot to talk about. What I'm going to have to do is start writing this down so I know what I covered and what I haven't covered. I'm only talking when I was young right now, but hey, I got 60 something years to talk through. So, yep, I'm going to keep you, I'm going to keep barking in your ears about this. So please, like I said, subscribe, leave a comment, uh, whatever else they do to notarize, like, all that helps the channel. Thank you again.